Welcome back to another coffee break. In case you have been living under a rock somewhere, I have a little over 40 days until I get on a plane to go to Assisi, Italy. And I am already looking at how to strategically pack so that I can get everything I want to take, everything, into one carry-on bag and have all that I need while I'm there. And part of my trip, it's not the focus of my trip, but part of my trip is photography. Surprise, surprise. And so as I'm looking at this small carry-on bag, I have some decisions to make. And these decisions are not easy decisions. And it is, how much equipment do I need? What am I going to wish I had when I got there that I left behind? Let me give you an example. Now, I'm going to speak Greek here for just a little while to some of you, and just bear with me. I have a point to this, okay? It's not all about me going to Assisi. I have some non-negotiable images. And there are basically two kinds of non-negotiable images. So one is inside of churches and cathedrals, I want to be able to get that wide, dramatic look of the large lines converging on the ceiling, those kinds of things. And for that, I need my 15 to 35 millimeter lens. I need one camera body. I have three, but I need one. So this is my minimum. I need one camera body. I need this 15 to 35 millimeter lens. And then I need some walking around pictures, just, the kinds of pictures you take when you're in a new place. And for that, I would typically take a 24 to 105 f4 because it works really well inside and outside. And that would lead me to take a 70 to 200 lens, a large zoom telephoto lens, to go up on the hilltop overlooking this hilltop city and taking these broad vista views out over the horizon. So, one camera body, three lenses. Now, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the 24 to 105 and the 70 to 200, that's two lenses, but I have a 24 to 240. It's not quite as good a lens, but if I could get rid of two, the 7200 is kind of big, and I could take one small lens, now I have one camera body and two lenses. And with that, I could take 80% of all the images that I know I want to take. And then the question becomes, is that enough? Because in my head, I have these pictures of, needing to take like long exposure photography of the Basilica of St. Francis or some other church where I want to get not only the movement in the clouds over the building, I want to stretch that out, which is through long exposure photography, but also if I take a long exposure, then I could also eliminate what other people are walking in the frame and just get the building. And that's going to take a tripod. It's going to take a ball head. It's going to take my package of magnetic neutral density filters. It's going to take my intervalometer. And you can see that just because I want to get this one picture of this one building, suddenly I'm taking a lot more equipment. And the truth of the matter is the 80-20 principle applies. If I want to get 80% of the pictures that I want to get and be happy that I got the 80% that are non-negotiables for me, I can get by with 20% of my equipment. But if I want that last 20% of pictures because I'm greedy or because I will just kick myself if I come home without them, then I've got to worry about this other 80% of equipment, and I've got to worry about the weight of it. I've got to worry about how to get it in this one little tiny bag and maybe some clothes. Although I have shown I can go to Rome for a week without a suitcase. But everything we do falls into that frame. So when you think about the behavior in your classroom. 80% of your classroom behavior problems are coming from 20% of your kids. If you got 30 kids in a classroom, 24 of them are doing great, but 6 of them are likely at any given time to give you a problem. Now, they don't all give it to you in equal portions. There may be 1 or 2 that are worse than the rest, okay? But you get the numbers. So you spend 80% of your classroom management time trying to handle 6 or 20% of your kids, 6 kids. And so then you have to start thinking strategically. How much of that problem can I eliminate with a seating chart? How much of that problem can I eliminate by reminding students up front at the beginning of every single class, even though I've told them 5,000 times already what my expectations are? How much of that can I control by strategically moving around the classroom while I teach and being in close proximity to the kids who are often messing up? Because the closer that I am to them, the less likely they are to misbehave. And suddenly I'm whittling down some of those numbers, and that 20% becomes much easier to handle. But I'm spending 80% of my classroom management time on them. So, the same thing would apply. The question has come up. It came up in our admin meeting, and then we thought we'd sort of made a decision, put it to rest, and it came up from teachers and from the deans about, okay, so we got rid of smartphones and we got rid of AirPods, and things are so much calmer. Very few people are actually asking for bathroom passes, and fighting has dropped tremendously. Kids are paying attention in class much better. They're more engaged in conversations. We took 20% of our effort and solved 80% of our problem. And so now the problem is, well, kids are getting around it with their smartwatches. So what do I do about smartwatches? Well, if it were me, I wouldn't do anything about smartwatches. But it's not me, because they're not bothering me in my office. So the question becomes, this is that last 20%. How important is it to you to spend 80% of your effort on technology distractions, getting rid of that 20% of your problem? Not everybody in your class has a smartwatch. Pretty much everybody has a phone. And so it's up to you to decide, what is it worth to you? That last 20%, getting that last 20% to gain total control of my classroom, what is it worth to me? And my suggestion to you, because I'm not going to tell you what to do here, that's totally up to you. But my suggestion to you is, do nothing. Take a breath. Sit down. Relax. Enjoy a few moments to yourself during the day. Drink a cup of coffee. And give up the fight, because you've won most of the battle. And the last of it, it may just cost too much. We'll see you next week.